Praise be to the Father. Thank you, Yeshua. I come to you tonight to talk to you about the black horse. I'll give you a brief layout. Jerusalem and the temple was destroyed in 70 AD. And that was the end of the Jewish era at that time in Jerusalem because Rome scattered them everywhere. Then Constantine comes along and becomes a Christian and helps form the Roman Catholic Church, which takes away all of the things that was taught to them from the apostles, right from Yeshua's mouth. They changed it around. They put their pagan worship days in there. But then we see another one come along in Mohammed, who had a confrontation or a encounter, I should say, between a being that called himself Gabriel, which changed the Islam all around to believe in only one God. And by Muhammad saying that he was taken up from Jerusalem at the dome where the rock is, I should say, that's shaped like a hoof of a horse, he's saying this is a holy place. So not only was it holy to the Jews in Israel, because the two previous temples, now it becomes a holy place to Muslims, to Islam. Well, then we can see in the years of 687 and 691, the Arabs come back in and took it back because at that time the Persian had control of it from the Christians. And they come back in and they had the vision of building a superior mosque there. It was going to be spectacular. And I guess since I haven't really seen it with my own eyes, only but pictures, it is the Golden Dome. But then they did not allow any pilgrims to come there any longer from the Catholic Church, so the popes become very angry, and from one pope to another, they declared it would be a sort of type of a holy war, and they started having the Crusades to go in and take Jerusalem back, which would have probably been okay. But between this time, 1229 and 1244, there was 9 crusades. But they not only went in and fought against the Muslims and killed Muslims, they killed the Jews. And in fact, according to history, the Muslims was more generous to the Jews than the Catholics and the Christians. Uh, it's record that during the during the England and Germany and Russia and parts of France, that it was so bad, the hate for the Jewish people, that mobs would literally kill them and isolate them. Well, Yahweh said that if you touch my people, you touch the apple of my eye. So why would the black horse be set loose? To bring on a time of great famine. And this is what it's talking about, you know, the black horse with the rider that had the scales, weighing out the wheat and the barley, and it was, doubled in price. Well, that's what literally happened during this time. Beginning in 1315, on the day of Pentecost, rains began. Deluges of rains began, saturating the ground. They couldn't grow the crops they needed because the ground was soaked. The grain would rot, the hay would mold, and a great famine come upon the land. And in the winter time, they kind of call it the Little Ice Age now, but it was the coldest winters that they've ever known. So you have people that have no food, that are hungry, that are starving, dying of pneumonia and tuberculosis and other things because of their weakened state of bodies, because they were starving to death, because of a great, great famine. And the price of everything, the grains was doubled, even the salt was doubled because they couldn't get it in because of the rains. But because of what they had done, it was put on them, on England, parts of France, Germany, and Russia. But in the Holy Land, it wasn't touched. So what does it say? Not in the same verse, in the black horse, it says not to touch the oil and the wine. And as I was looking this up, the oil is the olive trees, or olive tree. The wine is the banquet wine. And as I was studying the history, and as the Ruach Kadesh was leading me through the history and teaching me these things, showing me about the black horse, that's the reason why Israel wasn't touched. It had to be preserved. It was holy. It was not to be put in this punishment of this great famine. Deluges of rain did not happen there. Yeah, it was cold, but not like up above them. So I said, Father, what does this mean? And he says, in the next example, what has been will be again in the last days. What's happening? Christians and Muslims are fighting again. Who's caught in the middle? The Jewish people. Who do they want to wipe out? The Jews. Who is our president turning against? Which is a Muslim. The Jewish people and Israel. After the bride is taken, after the bride is gone, there is going to be so much chaos that's going to be happening that the food that they get is going to be tripled in price, just as it was in England and Germany and France and Russia, because of the great famine. It's going to happen again. Why? Because they're not only coming against Israel now and the Jewish people, but it's going to grow intense and even get worse after the bride is taken. This was a foreshadowing of what happened back then, of what will happen again. That black horse has already been set loose and is riding. We see it off and on happening. It comes back in various, but not as bad as it was then, but it will be worse than it was then. He's getting ready to take his bride home. We see that the weather is getting warmer, that right now you look at the hurricanes out there in the Atlantic, you see another oil well on fire. Yeah, God's judgment's here on America. Obama, you may be my president, but you're going against God's people. And the bride is going to go home. And when she's gone home, all hearing will be let loose. And thank you in the name of Yeshua.